Spivey.
Salutations, it's Matt.
We're the hosts of 1600 Dust, and you're listening to Concede.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 90 of Concede, a Hearthstone podcast dedicated to making the competitive side of the game more accessible to you. Kenny is on vacation, so I am Cinder in the Control Center in Thunder Bluff holding things down. All the way from Undercity, Georgia, we have Appa.
Oh, hey.
And from Gadgets in New York, it's Ridiculous Hat.
Oh, hey.
And on loan from the very excellent podcast 1600 Dust, hailing from Ongoro, Washington, it's Chris.
How's it going?
It is going great, sir. So thank you for coming. For those of our listeners who may be unfamiliar with 1600 Dust, tell us a little bit about your show and introduce yourself as well for the listeners.
Sure. My name's Chris. I'm one of the co-hosts of 1600 Dust, which is a 20-minute weekly Hearthstone podcast. We're designed to fit around the podcast that you really like, kind of like an ancillary little thing on the side. Been doing that for a couple of years. Before that, I was the host of Playing for Cheaps, which was a video game podcast. And then way back, I was the host of Pauper to the People, which was a Magic the Gathering podcast that was focused around the Pauper format.
Oh, that's awesome. Pauper's so much fun.
Yes.
I kind of see some themes going on. Play for cheap, paupers.
Yeah, married with 3 kids. So there's a lot of, hey, how can I do the things I used to do when I had a lot more expendable income than I do now?
Yeah, that is super relatable for listeners. So right after the introductions, normally, Chris, we talk about our week in Hearthstone. You're the guest, so you want to tell us what you've been doing on ladder or arena? What do you like to do?
I have to say this is so weird for me because I'm used to hosting and myself going last. So going first, I almost feel like I'm committing a faux pas in a way. But currently on the ladder, I'm rank 14. I've been playing a lot of Murloc and Burn Mage, both to pretty good success on the ladder. Most of my play this time of year tends to focus around prepping for Team Hearth League, of which Hat is my illustrious captain. So really, I always go for quality of game over quantity of games. I think I average anywhere between 100 to 150 games a month, so I'm definitely not a grinder by any means. But I try and keep up to date with what the good decks are. Try to focus on something that's a little more aggro, although I can play control if the ladder's telling me to do it. And yeah, especially that Murloc Paladin aggro deck, that's been treating me really well these past few days. Really well.
Yeah, it's I've been running it a little bit myself. But first, let's talk to Hat about his ladder experiences this week.
So first of all, don't let Chris sell it short. We are co-captains of the team because he is certified awesome, and I have 3 fewer kids than him, but we both have a lot going on. So
what does uncertified awesome look like?
It looks like this.
It just doesn't have a stamp, I think, is the issue.
I'm not an awesome notary, so I can't provide the official stamp.
Is it illegal to carry awesome without a license?
You're just gonna have to ask Chris. He does it every day.
Is there a background
concealed
check?
carry? Conceal carry awesome.
There you go. He has a CCA. It's fine. It's fine, everybody. So, and the Murloc deck, I played a few games of it. It was fun watching Chris post the replays in our team Discord. It went from, this deck is pretty good, this deck is really good, play this deck. Being able to play, it's got a kind of small bubble element, right, where you have some Argent Squires and Steward of Darkshire. And it's similar to the deck that, we were playing that, I think, a couple months ago, right when Ongoro came out. And then it kind of went out of favor, and now it came back into favor. Not divine favor, no pun intended. But it's pretty powerful. I played it a little bit. I've been mostly focusing on Mage because it's one of my non-golden heroes. And I hit a wall of Eater of Secrets a few days ago on stream.
Oh man,
it's the card is worth playing in the current meta, and I've actually eaten a fair amount of Paladin secrets with it too, and I've also eaten a few Rogue Mage secrets because their deck takes your stuff. So I've been glad to have it, and they're usually like before Mage was the meta, it was often you play it the turn that you're going to kill them and you kill them, but a lot of times people run out secrets early and hold them. A counterspell and an ice block is pretty common. If they have 2 secrets up on turn 6, I'm taking them. So I'm at the top of rank 5. It's been a tough month to climb, which I know has been a common thread for a couple of us here. It's the meta is still unsolved, which I think is a testament to Blizzard's ability to playtest. This has been by far the hardest expansion to solve I've ever seen.
Agreed. Appa, you doing any better?
Yeah. So I'm on the opposite end of the spectrum, Chris, and I am hardcore grinding right now. In the past, I think, week and a half, I've gotten 200 wins with Paladin.
Good.
Jeez.
And I hit Golden Liadrid because she is Bae. So that's 8 out of 9 golden classes down. Now I'm working on Priest, and I'm planning on having that done like another week and a half because I got like 250 wins or so. I got like 50 today with it.
I've played 5 games today. Jeez.
I don't think I have 200 wins with Paladin. Period.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
I think I'm at 80 somewhere around there.
Yeah, which should also tell you something about like how good this expansion is. It's like we're months into this expansion, and I just want to get on and play Hearthstone, which like it hasn't been the case like in a while for expansions, because like usually it'll be like the first month and a half will be like the honeymoon period, and after that I'll just be like, man, this sucks. X deck is too powerful. I don't want to play against that. But like right now, it's just like I personally I feel like Burn Mage is probably like the quote unquote best deck. But like you also have counterplay to it, and like nothing feels like super like it doesn't feel like there's not enough answers in the format for it. So like I don't know. I feel like this format's super healthy. I'm having just a ton of fun playing. So I'm just grinding out these golden classes right now.
Yeah. Well, meanwhile, I have been challenged trying to get any higher than 5 because I got to 5 on the 10th, I believe, and it was on stream, and I've gotten up to like rank 3 once and rank 4 2 or 3 times, but every time like the next session has been a losing streak, and I went right back down to 5. So I'm like, a little discouraged from time to time, but I always find another deck that I have fun with. In fact, I switched to the Murloc Paladin, like you guys were talking about, and I hit rank 4. I think I fell right back down again, but I'm gonna get back up there. It's a fun deck. It plays fast. It's straightforward, and I will take any excuse to play with the Vilefen Inquisitor because the little Murloc token is like my favorite thing in Hearthstone next to dinosaurs. Hands? Yes, the little pink Murloc with the tiny hammer. I love that guy.
Silverhand.
Yes, so adorable.
It's the clip where Day9 does his opponent does and anything can happen and brings back 7 of them and they all make a little noise at the same time is just so adorable.
And we had a bit of busy week for coaching. We want to quickly talk about coaching. Hat, you got anything done this week?
Oh, did I? I think I've got 9 coaching this month, and I got another 3 done this week. I got Drunken Monk and Fumbles last Thursday. Both were super fun. With Drunken Monk, we went 6-1 with Burn Mage, and with Fumbles, we went 6-1 with Evolve Shaman, and both were pretty much all about identifying not how do I not lose, but how do I win this game. And both the times, the players at the end were just like, you're way more aggressive than me. It's like, yeah, I like to kill them. So, and with Fumbles, Evolve Shaman still feels so gross, and if I didn't have Golden Shaman, I would 100% be playing it right now, because the only match we lost was the Mirror, and everybody else you just go kind of totem, 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 you're dead. And
yeah, you just like play a totem that they have to answer or they lose.
Yeah.
And then like, once they answer with all your stuff, just like, all right, thanks for Evolve.
Yeah.
Yet? Nope.
Well, we didn't have the time to do that in a few games because we killed them on turn 6. Because, we just went Primal Fin Totem into actual hero power a couple times into take 30.
Yeah, like, if I wasn't grinding out the other classes, I would for sure be playing this, like, Evolve Shaman, because this deck is awesome.
Well, and the way you know it's gross is because you look at every deck list for other deck, and there's a few cards different, except you look at the deck list for Evolve Shaman, 10 different people are playing it, not one card different. It's
True facts.
identical. So it's really, really powerful. And then Coach Esperoth on Sunday. Esperoth and I have been Twitter friends for like a year. It was the first time we ever spoke. Cinder actually tagged along. It was a really fun time with Control Paladin. We actually had a lot of fast games because our opponents kept conceding on turn 5 once we got board control. But also, she is 100% the Skype call testing service. The accent,
It's true.
the inflection of the voice. Cinder actually had her read the Skype call testing script, and it was eerie how exactly British she is. And she explained her accent, and I could listen to her all day. So super duper fun with all three. I've got another coaching right after the podcast tonight. And yeah, this has been one of the better months I've had with coaching as well, because in this unsolved meta, just kind of working on these lines of play really makes a big difference.
Yeah.
Can I ask a question? Oh,
yeah.
sorry.
No, go for it.
So you had mentioned earlier on in the show that this is the expansion that it's taken the longest to, I guess, quote unquote, solve the meta, which I agree, and I also think is a good thing. Do you think that Evolved Shaman list is probably the closest we've come to like 100% solved deck at this point then?
I don't think so, just because there is a very common build. I don't think that's the best build. There is a build floating around out there that has a Nixia at the top end.
There's also builds that just don't run Doppelgangster at all, because it can be so inconsistent without Evolve. Like, they just, like, cut different... It's just, like, the most... I don't know, it's, like, the cheesiest version of the build, I guess. So, like, it grabs the most free wins, but I don't think it's, like, the, like, best build overall, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and there were quite a few matches of it at the global games on Twitch where it's like, oh, this is what happens when you don't get either Doppelgangster or Evolve at the right time, and it's a pretty brutal way to lose.
Yeah. Which I feel like that's exactly how all of my Evolve Shaman games go. Like, every time I queue up the deck, I'm like, okay, I rolled totems for 10 turns and I lost. What happened? Where's Bloodlust?
Yeah.
Where's the Evolve combo? But
it's 53%. Token Shaman is 53% win rate overall. So does Pirate Warrior. Murloc Paladin's up there at 52%. This is all taken from the Vicious Syndicate live data reaper. Token Shaman has been floating near the top, but it's still beatable by certain strategies, and Freeze made a resurgence recently.
It has solid counters. Like, Mage is a solid counter, because Ice Block's disgusting.
Yeah, well, it depends.
And just AoEs for days.
Yeah. I think this Token Shaman list is the fastest consensus for one class, where you can pick that deck and it's going to be really powerful outside of Pirate Warrior. But I don't know. I think the answer, Chris, to your question is the closest we've gotten, but it's not close enough to consider it solved. I think that's what I'd say.
Sure.
But I do
like... It's a fair answer.
I do like Torlin's answer in the chat where, of course, the meta solves. You eat hot dogs, you get Legend.
Is that my problem? I just need to eat a couple more hot dogs every night? I don't think my doctor would be happy with me if I did that.
I think it's so bizarre, because, like, the Pirate Warrior list, we would think they would be solved, too, but, like, those are all fluctuating with, like, Bittertide Hydras and Spellbreakers and Captain Greenskins.
Yeah. It's definitely weird. I mean, again, it's 26 cards or so are about locked in, but the last 4 are a little funky. Same with Burn Mage or Gunther Mage or Discover Mage. There's about 22 card core, but there's a lot of variants outside of that. Same with Quest Rogue. Jade Druid, there's about a 20 card core, but there are a lot of Pyromancer, Acolyte, Moonfire lists going around right now.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Moonfire with Pyromancer is pretty solid. And I don't know. I think that all the tech nestled in Un'Goro has not really been figured out yet, because the expansion is so deep. So I am continually impressed by Blizzard's abilities at
I'm honestly glad that it's taken me such a long time to, like, climb, because, like, this is what a 50% metagame looks like. Like, this is about as close as you're gonna get to, like, a true 50% metagame. And, like, that's what, like, true balance is for a game. Is, like, being 50% every class, like, kind of being a coin flip with, like, small edges you can get here or there. And, like, it being hard to climb is, like, actually pretty good.
Yeah,
Legend's not supposed to be easy, right? It's supposed to be difficult to get, and this is a metagame that feels frustrating emotionally, because you're going to feel like you can't ever find the right deck because there is no right deck. It's just the deck that you're playing well is the right deck. Unless
Right.
unless you run
my
to Eater of Secrets.
advice for sure would be pick a deck that you enjoy playing and master that. And like if you make few enough mistakes, you're gonna hit legend with that deck.
True facts.
And also play 200 games in one day, Appa.
Also,
No,
that
that
goodness
was
gracious.
it was more than 200
Ugh.
because I got like 200 wins.
I can't even with you. But on the subject of decks that are not solved yet, I had 3 coachings this past week. First one was with Abichu, and he had a priest deck. He showed me the list, and I looked at it and I said, this is interesting. There's a lot of card generation and copying things, but what's the win condition? And he says, the win condition is that I steal my opponent's win condition. And I'm like, oh, honey, I don't know. That's usually not going to work out for you. But I said, you know what? Let's try it. Let me get on your vibe, and we'll do that. And so I only made one recommendation: take out the second mind control and add in Lyra, because he had everything else for a Lyra package. He already had Lyra, so let's just run her as this 30th card. And I'm convinced that deck went off. Like, we didn't win every game, but every game was close. And there were some really crazy plays that went on with that deck, and I've decided that it must be named Grand Theft Anduin.
Oh my god.
It is, it's not tier 1, but it is tier fun, and I think we won more than we lost, so that was a fun deck. Viriatus and I played some Burn Mage. I have to say it's challenging to coach Viriatus because Viriatus is already very good at this game, so it felt a lot more like collaboration than coaching. But it was still a good time. We got low rolled a bunch. We actually had to stop and make sure that we had mana worms in the deck. So when you do that, you're having a bad time. But it was fun nonetheless. And then Samurai Flea and I went over Murloc Paladin. He never played a game of Murloc Paladin, not one, not a single game. And we went 7-0 with that bad boy. He started out.
That deck's good.
Is good. He started out the session at rank 12. He's like, well, my goal is rank 10, and I'm hoping to get there. I said, no. We're getting there now. In the next hour, we are at rank 10, and by the end of the session, he was rank 9. And I'm like, nice, my man.
Yeah, like whenever I coach somebody who's like, my goal is like rank 10, I'm like, your new goal is rank 5, friend.
That's right. So that's it for coaching this week. We still got a few more to do for the month, and then it'll be July before we know it. So if you want to get coached or would like to see what other kind of benefits you can get, check out our Patreon page, patreon.com/CoinConcede. You can get merch. You can get access to the Discord server that nobody else can access except for us and the patrons, and get a direct line to us, the hosts. Go check it out and see how you can help support us and get some goodies from us. Also, the Listener League has been, the signups for the patrons have been open for a week. By the time this podcast drops at the end of the week, I will be opening the Listener League for everyone. It'll be open registration, soft cap at 32. And if we get a lot more than 32 players sign up, I will figure something out because I want people to be happy. Appa, do we have any new pledges this week?
Yeah, we have a thank you to give to TG Raider for his pledge this week.
Very nice. We greatly appreciate all of the support that everyone gives us. We are humbled by the amount of love that we get every week. So that being said, let us move on into the news. Ridiculous hat, take it away, sir.
News. So Seat Story Cup 7 is coming. For those of you that have not seen a Seat Story before, this is one of the most fun spectator tournaments of the year. It's just the vibe around it. It's really chill. Every single person that's involved, it's an invitational. It's mostly it's professionals, but also personalities. You'll see people like Raven is going to play. There are a few other personalities that are selected. Forsen is invited, even though I think calling him a Hearthstone player at this point is a little bit of an exaggeration.
Dogpocalypse.
Yes. So Seed Story, it's totally worth your time, and most of the players will cast the matches they're not playing. There's a rotation, because everybody casts at least one match. So they all play. It's really, really fun. And this is where people do things that are a little bit more off the wall. This is the tournament where Bogchamp Shaman was first played by Frodan I think that was Seat Story 5.
He is my hero for doing
Yeah.
that.
And he
Good
did
time.
really well with it.
Yep.
Like he did well. And it's also the tournament where a Freeze Mage player got a Justicar plate on them in turn 6 and just conceded to save time. So you get the idea of exactly what kind of tournament this is. It's fun. It's really enjoyable. It's high stakes, but it's definitely a fun tournament to watch. So I strongly recommend tuning in. There
Hey,
is
I'm gonna miss Life Coach.
yeah.
Oh,
and
yeah,
Super
right?
JJ.
Yeah. Let me kick this around the table real quick. Let's do predictions. We got a link to the groups, and there in the notes. Chris, take a look at that. What do you any names stand out that you think might get out of group and take this whole thing?
Oh boy, there's a surprising amount. I mean, when it comes down to it, I'm gonna root for Pavel anytime.
Yeah.
I think he gets a lot of flack for undeservedly, and I just kind of like rooting for the guy. It also helps that I got to see him win it all at BlizzCon last year, so he's kind of like the guy I root for when I see him on a list.
Nice. Appa, what do you think?
I don't know. I've been so swamped. You guys know this.
Yeah, we know it. Hey,
Let's see. I like Orange a lot because he plays Hunter whenever he can. He's also super nice, and he just dumpster DreamHack with Control Paladin. So I'm gonna go with
hey,
him.
spoilers, man.
Yeah.
Come on. That's next segment. I'm looking at these groups. I don't know that I have a favorite to get out of group, although I feel really sorry for Disguised Toast,
Yeah.
who's in Group G with Ties, Kalento, and Strife Crow.
Easily the group of death. It's either that one or Group E, which is where Pavel is, because there's RDU, Rekful, and Ostkaka. Those are the two groups that really seem scary to me.
And
I'm
Rexel hasn't
gonna
played a
make
game
a
of
called
Hearthstone in a
shot
hot
right
minute.
now, and say that Disguised Toast is coming out first seed out of that group.
Okay.
You know, I would root for him as the underdog for that very reason. So yeah, I can get behind that.
Right on. Hat, what do you think?
I'm gonna put in. I have two people that I think will ascend out of their groups, and I think Mr. Yagud has a chance to win the whole thing. His group is good. He's got VLPS, Frozen, and Lothar. Lothar is definitely not as current, but still a good player. But Mr. Yagud has done very well lately. He played his Control Priest, and he hit top 10 Legend with it, and I went 2-7 with it, so I know he's good. And
that deck's awesome.
it's really good, but difficult to play, and I don't have a lot of Priest experience. And then Group B, I think Group B overall, AKA Wonder's a good player. They're all good players, but I think Tyler's just waiting for his chance to break out. The dude hits top 10 Legend every season on multiple servers. I don't know how he hasn't had a better finish yet. So, if Mr. Yagud can get past VLPS, then I think that he has a really solid chance of taking down the tournament. It's a tough match. And then I think Tyler is just waiting for a breakout, and I'm hoping this is the one for him.
Yep. What's next on the list?
We've got, well, speaking of Disguised Toast, the patch was released to fix the disconnect exploit, as well as it's trying to fix the game crash exploit and a couple other really small things. Toast the Badger, by the way, who got banned instead of Disguised Toast. They banned the wrong piece of bread. Toast the Badger got their account back. Disguised Toast also got their account back. So everyone has their accounts.
He got, what, like a 72-hour ban for
it was
streaming
a
an
3-day.
exploit? Yeah.
Yep.
And then the morning after the news hit, Toasts the Badger logs onto her account and she's been suspended.
Yeah, the wrong Toast.
Yeah, like and Disguised Toast is like, hey Blizz, I think that was meant for me. I can still log in, guys.
Yeah, well, Disguised Toast did the right thing and retweeted, hey, this is not me. You're supposed to ban me, but it is also hilarious. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, he probably knew there was going to be some consequence, but it was good for the stream views, and he's really just had a rocket ride to notoriety really quickly.
Yep.
Yeah. And then the World Esports Games announced the 2017 games. Now, there's good news and there's bad news here. The good news is that there are women's divisions for CSGO and Hearthstone. And they may enter regular events as normal, but also there is a woman-only entry for the separate divisions. The bad news is that the women's-only divisions have smaller prize pools, and there was an article that Cinder linked me the other day. There's some weirdness about how they're running this. The women all have to wear white dresses.
Well, that was a different tournament.
Different tournament.
Yeah,
okay.
But it kind of this announcement did kind of bring up the whole idea of women's only divisions, because WESG is like the biggest Hearthstone tournament, like prize wise, outside of BlizzCon or the HCT itself. Like there's something like $300,000 in the all-in division. So this year they announced the women-only division, and there's a lot of back and forth about whether or not this is a good thing, because some people say, well, women are going to get more exposure if they have their own division that they can play in, and other people are like, why do women even need their own division? Why aren't we encouraging women to just get into the regular division? So I mean, I'm definitely interested in this conversation, but it is making a lot of waves right now and bringing up this topic as a discussion in the esports world.
And it's complex. I'm glad I mixed that up with that other tournament, which I linked in the chat here, which is titled, "This is exactly how not to run a women's esports tournament." But luckily, it is not this one. It was the IMBA TV's International Women's Invitational, which was different. So I'm glad that this is looking to be more professional, but it's still, there's a lot to be said here about the demographics of gaming in general, and I don't know. It's complex. I think that there's a chance that we'll talk about this a little bit more in a show in the future.
Yep. Yeah,
I want to talk about it now.
Yeah, we can. Yeah, what do you think, Chris?
The thing that's interesting about it to me, as someone who has a daughter, and who has also seen how, especially on Twitch, the responses in Twitch chat to women in general, which I think is pretty vile.
Yeah, agreed.
I wonder if so when they mention a women's only league, tournament for these sorts of things, my first thought is, are you going to just disable Twitch chat for that? Because if not, maybe you should. And then it's like, if that's kind of the reason why they're doing it, then why not just do something where maybe it's just you run tournaments or events like this where just Twitch chat is disabled altogether? I don't know. It's the first I've heard about it when I was looking at these notes, and you're right, there's a lot of complex thoughts about it, but it's just like the potential for Twitch chat just being downright worse than we've ever seen it before does concern me a little bit.
Yeah, it's going to be, and Twitch's policy is that the broadcaster has to moderate its own content. So WSG would have to have its own moderators on staff, and if they're not prepared to, you could have a repeat of DreamHack 2016, which was a disaster and a kind of a black mark on the esports world. But the upshot is, a lot of people were like, "Hey, this is not cool. This is not what our community is about." So hopefully, it will be not so bad this time around. Anything else in the news, Hat? Anything we haven't listed?
Nothing really. It's a slower news time of year because we're all anxiously awaiting the next announcement, which is rumored to be, I'm sure we'll get an announcement pretty soon at the Shanghai Champs for sure, but maybe a little bit before that. But right now, we're just kind of in a holding pattern. Luckily, Angora is still fresh and interesting, but now is about the time when we start to get breadcrumbs towards the next expansion, and the rumors are still swirling around Return of the Lich King, so I don't know.
Ooh,
yeah.
That'd be fun.
I mean, like, Lich King's like a big part of World of Warcraft, so like, I feel like we've been waiting for this for a while.
Yeah, you could see some like corrupt paladin cards for sure, because that whole storyline is about Arthas, turning away from the light and becoming corrupted by all that stuff. Don't want to give any spoilers. So for anybody who hasn't played Warcraft 3 when it came out 20 years ago.
Yes. Oh man, that game was great. I'm gonna go play it later.
Pretty good. All right, well, we're gonna wrap up the news and head into the tournament results with that guy.
It's the grand tournament.
So if you weren't listening to Appa's very rude spoiler earlier, we had DreamHack Austin. We had DreamHack Summer this past weekend, which happened in Jönköping, Sweden, which is a really beautiful city. Like, go look it up on Google. Like, I really want to go there. Like, it's wow. Anyway, they had a full 200 players in a 9-round Swiss, which cut to a top 16 single elimination bracket. All matches across the event were best of 5, last hero standing with a ban. Now, before I jump into the results real quick, I want to give a shout out to Old Guardian. He is a streamer and a content creator, and he has his own blog. And on his blog, he had some really excellent analysis of the top 16 matches, like right down to making matchup matrices for each and every game. So if you really want to dig into the numbers and the guts of competitive Hearthstone, click the link that's in the show notes and check that out, because he did a fantastic job and it was very helpful in my research. Now on to the cut. Emerging past the cut, Hoy, who just won the spring playoffs for the European region, he was the single undefeated player at 9-0. So this is turning into like the summer of Hoy. He's been doing really, really well lately. Behind him in the top 16 were Zanananan, Seiko, Impy, Zixo, Zump, Orange, Diggin, Espomito, Dragon Albert, Powder, Deathlore, a person I had the privilege of being coached by last year, Janetsky, Show, Hunter Ace, and Secrets. And I have been requested to say the first name again. I assume you meant Hoy, right?
No, the other first name.
Zanananan. It's funny.
That one.
Now you can have your fruit snack and go lay down. The quarterfinals. There was a round of 16 that eliminated 8 players, so we're going to jump over to the quarterfinal results. Espomito defeats Hoy 3-2, unfortunately, but Hoy's teammate from Planet Odd, Zixo, defeats Impy 3-2. Orange defeats Hunter Ace 3-2. Zumpy defeats Seiko 3-2. I gotta say, like, with Hoy and Zixo both making high runs in this event, you gotta think that Planet Odd is really super happy about that acquisition of those two plus surrender from the former Team Navi. The semifinal round, Espomito defeats Zixo 3-2, and Orange defeats Zump 3-2. That gives us a final of Orange versus Espomito. Orange, my friends, he says he is tired of this 3-2 shenanigans. He sweeps Espomito with a Control Paladin, which makes him, in my book, my man. So when you add Orange's record with Control Paladin there, Control Paladin had a 6-3 record in the top 16, which is excellent. And it is the only winning record of all deck archetypes in the top 16, aside from Evolved Shaman, which had a record of 11-4. So that deck did a lot of work. Thoughts from the Peanut Gallery about those two decks?
They're really good.
They are really good.
Yeah, I mean, both of those have... Control Paladin's kind of emerged a tournament darling and has seen more and more play as the expansion's gone on. Same with Evolve Shaman. I think that, once again, we're still seeing the evolution of this format, and Paladin, and both of those classes are really good brings. I think in THL, Chris and I have both leaned towards bringing Shaman and Paladin more often. And in our league format, you bring the class first, and then you don't disclose the deck. So Paladin's great because there's a lot of variety there, but even then, I brought Control Paladin recently and Evolve Shaman, and both just have a lot of play against the field, against an unknown field or a wider metagame. They're just objectively really powerful against most strategies that you face.
That sums it up. That sums it up.
There you go. Appa, anything?
Control Paladin is one of my favorite archetypes of all time, so glad to see Orange crush the finals with it.
Agreed. I like that deck too. I wish I had more time to be on ladder, because I would play with it a whole bunch if I had infinite time. But moving on to the Hearthstone Global Games, we have finished Stage 1. Last week, Mexico won their match to take first place in Group G, and China won theirs to take first place in Group A. So we are now on to Stage 2. This is another group round-robin stage. There are 6 groups of 4. The top 2 from each group will be placed in the final playoff, and the 4 best third place finishes will round out the 16 slots for the elimination playoffs. Our our Stage 2 groups are Group A, Malaysia, China, Norway, and Singapore. Group B, USA, Israel, Belgium, and the Czech Republic. Group C is South Korea, Netherlands, Argentina, and Philippines. Group D is New Zealand, Brazil, Hungary, and Taiwan. Group E is Ukraine, Peru, Austria, and Greece. And Group F is Bulgaria, Italy, Canada, and Mexico. So before I do the results from this week, I want to do another little round of predictions here. Kenny, what do you think? Oh, you're not here. Appa, what do you think? Who looks strong here?
I'm still a huge fan of the South Korean team, like I said when Global Games started. So I'm Hitch my trailer to that horse.
Fair enough. Hat, what do you think?
There's a bunch of different teams. I think if I were leaning on two particular teams, it'd be USA or Ukraine. And I think Ukraine is probably the clear favorite to win the tournament, though Singapore had some surprising wins. And if I recall correctly, Malaysia had a couple surprising wins too.
Yeah, they did.
I think there's something to be said there. South Korea, I agree, is really good. But I want Mexico to win so bad.
Right?
I want them to win. They're the people's champion.
Chris, what do you have any thoughts on these teams?
Yeah. So I wanted to echo Hat's thoughts a little bit because I haven't been able to watch it very intently, but what little I've seen, I've seen quite a bit of Malaysia, and they do look really good. Of course, I'm also going to root for the home team and root for USA. But with the other things that I've seen, Mexico looks good, Malaysia looks good, and Ukraine is going to be a powerhouse as well. So it'll be really interesting to watch.
Agreed on most of those counts. I think coming out of groups, I think Singapore will emerge from group. USA is almost a shoo-in, but I actually really like Israel. Their play in the last couple of weeks has been really excellent. Netherlands, I think, will advance. New Zealand will probably advance. Ukraine is a strong favorite to win the whole thing. Canada will probably advance. And like you all, I really like the Mexican team. I am super rooting for the Mexican team. And there is still a place in my heart for Team Philippines. But yeah, I've been won over by our friends just to the south. So let's see how those predictions start panning out with the results this week. New Zealand sweeps Hungary 3-2. Malaysia defeats Singapore 3-2. Did I say 3-2? Sweep is 3-0. Malaysia defeats Singapore 3-2. So there we go. Malaysia is on the board already. Ukraine defeats Austria 3-2. Italy defeats Bulgaria 3-1. Netherlands defeats Philippines 3-1. Czech Republic defeats Israel 3-2. That was actually a really close match. Like Israel went up 2-0 and looked like they were just going to knock the whole thing out of the park, but the Czech Republic managed to swing it back. Won a game with Stan Sifka's blood bloom handlock again. I don't know how he does it. It's really something to see if you want to go back and watch it. Greece defeats Peru 3-1. Deathlore and crew getting a little revenge from Deathlore being knocked out of the round of 16 at DreamHack. USA defeats Belgium 3-1, no surprise, and Mexico defeats Canada 3-2. What is up? Mexico actually started out 0-1 in the series. And they had a really they looked like they were going to win a game against the Taunt Warrior, and they got high rolled on a 1-4 rag shot and lost. But they came back and won the series 3-2. So far so good for Mexico, looking good. And coming up, Seed Story Cup 7 this weekend, as we talked about, and HCT Spring Championships will be in 2 weeks. I heard a little birdie whose name might be Songbird saying that she may or may not be on the desk in 2 weeks. We'll see. That all being in the bag, let's do a couple iTunes real quick. Appa, take the first one if you don't mind.
You don't want Hat to take this one?
Had, why don't you take the first one?
If you insist. Let's see. I even have a thing for this. Oh, look, you made me read the review about myself. How embarrassing. Luckily for you, there's no shame in my game.
Oh my god.
The review here is Talk to the Hat by Original Rays, which makes an excellent slice of pizza. Co-host Ridiculous Hat is one of the most insightful and listenable Hearthstone analysts, working right up there with Scott, Lance, and Strife Crow. Hat can explain complex ideas in simple, easily understood terms. Thank you, Ray, or Original Rays. I appreciate it. It's really, the podcast creates kind of a fertile environment for that sort of stuff to grow, and I kind of echo off our amazing co-host, but I really appreciate the kind words.
Appa, take the next one.
All right. This is 10 out of 10. Would listen to again and again by Mark F/King Salt. Coin Concede is literally the main Hearthstone podcast I look forward to catching every week. Kenny, Appa, Cinder, and Hat are all super knowledgeable and give the show a really good and laid-back vibe. Coin Concede is one of the best Hearthstone podcasts out there and definitely worth the listen.
Excellent. And I'll do this last one real quick. It's a little truncated for time, but we want to read it anyway. Ruby Loveday from the United Kingdom says, boom, life is simple. These guys are amazing. Their show is superb. They offer insight and knowledge unavailable anywhere else. I don't know. There are some pretty good podcasts out there, like 1600 Dust. Can't wait for my teaching session with Hat, but I think you're all amazing. Keep on going and love the game. Thanks. If you want to give us an iTunes review, it is actually really helpful to have others find content that they like. So if you like it and you want other people to like this kind of stuff to find it, give us an iTunes review. And we didn't have a Stitcher review, but our listener and patron Torlin, who I actually met this past week in a Tavern Hero qualifier in Thunder Bluff, great guy, by the way. He gave us just a wonderful review on his website, and we leaked it in the show notes. Please go read it, because I think he actually not only giving us a review, but giving us constructive criticism and things that could even be better. I'm the kind of perfectionist that I see audio quality 9 out of 10. I'm like, why am I missing a point? I need to get that 10. But we do want to thank Torlin for that really wonderful review. So all that being in the bag as well, let us go ahead and move on to the DECKSPLANATIONS segment. All right, I am going to turn off my mic and drink a bunch of coffee and let Appa and Hat and Chris take over.
Awesome. All right, so for DECKSPLANATIONS this week, in our Discord, shameless plug, we have a chat room for questions for the cast, which if you get in Discord and you ask us some questions, your question might be on the show. But so I took this one and I rode with it because it's actually a really interesting question and something I've thought about a decent amount, and something that's kind of counterintuitive. So the question is from Silence, I guess. It's spelled kind of weird, but that's how I'm going to pronounce that. It says, hey guys, I was wondering why there's an aggro archetype for every class with the exception of Priest. I understand that the hero power isn't beneficial to an aggro setup, and I think most of the class cards are too slow for such a strategy to work, but would it be in Blizzard's interest to develop some cards for this possibility? I know Hat had something to say on this part.
Well, I will explain after you explain your explanation.
Cool. So why is there no aggro priest? So every class in Hearthstone has the ability to make a semi-viable aggro deck, so why not priest? The issue here is that its hero power, the issue lies in its hero power and its class cards. So we talked last week about how priest class cards are inherently reactive, and that's very much by design by Blizzard and Team 5. So Priest is a class that has a hero power that looks reactive because it just heals to. It doesn't put anything on the board and doesn't, kill anything. But it's arguably one of the strongest proactive hero powers in the game. So what I mean by that is, think of a scenario when you consider a game over versus Priest, right? It's when they have stuff on the board and they're killing your things and they're healing their minions, because your board control is just gone and you're not going to be able to get back on board for the rest of the game, because Priest has grabbed the board and it doesn't let go of it easily because the hero power facilitates board presence better than any other hero power in the game. So knowing this, Blizzard is kind of forced to develop Priest into a reactive class, because if they make strong aggressive minions and it grabs the board early, it's just going to beat every other deck in the game, especially other creature minion-based decks.
Yeah. Chris, do you have a lot of experience with Priest?
Mine is primarily, I was resistant to Priest for a long time. And I've recently, with Gadgetzan more specifically, I played a lot of Dragon Priest. But even then, I mean, Appa's right on the ball with that. Everything you're doing it's less about just smorking all the time and more about making favorable trades to make sure that your minions survive so that they can buff up again, and then recognizing when that turn is when you can really start pushing that face damage in. And it makes it very difficult for it to be a strictly aggro role as much as I would want it to be. It seems like it's really difficult to do that. And a lot of the stuff that's shadow form related is more, from my own experience, it just feels really gimmicky and less than reliable as a way to try and push damage as Priest.
Yeah, so I know Hat has something to say on this, but so I would argue, I'm kind of going to step in front of this and say, I would argue that the closest aggressive thing to an aggressive Priest we have in that you could just curve out and not have like anything extra. You just like curve 1, 2, 3, 4, and like start hitting stuff instead of like having to work to make the deck like function, is Dragon Priest. And think about how you lost games versus that. Like if you were aggro, they went turn 1 Twilight Whelp, and they started trading and just healing their stuff, you lost the game like instantly.
Mhm.
And if you were playing control and they started doing that and picking off your minions and developing a massive board, and then getting like disgusting value through Draconid Operative, you lost the game. Like it was over. So like if Priest gets on the board and it's allowed to facilitate its board presence with its hero power, it's very hard for the other deck to win, which is kind of why Priest has to be inherently reactive, because like the card they have to like design cards in a way to where they can't be proactive because the hero power is actually very strong.
It's probably why Dragon Priest spoke so much to me as someone who prefers to play aggressively, because you're right, that deck would curve out in ways where you felt like you couldn't lose.
Yeah, it turns out Draconid Operative is real good.
And so there's a couple comparisons I want to draw here to some decks in the current meta and some decks that we're familiar with. So first I want you to visualize Zoo before Karazhan, back when it was Imp Gang Boss, after all the broken Death Rattles rotated out, but while the deck was still playable post-implosion, but when the deck was still really solid. And I want you to think about the feeling of, we talked about making trades, buffing back up, and staying on the board and gaining board control, not really giving it up. Also, I want to think about Evolve Shaman right now, and how you generate, like we define an aggro deck, it's a textbook aggro deck in that you generate pressure through incremental threats, but no individually significant threats. There's no one card, one minion on the board that's going to be really threatening when you're playing.
It's just all of them you kind of have to deal with.
Yeah, like a Firefly is not a problem, but 7 of them is a problem. So
yeah, it's like.
Yeah. So if you look at Silence Combo Priest checks all the boxes of being like old Zoo in that you play a bunch of dirty little minions that all have pressure, and then you're very similar to Evolve Shaman in that if you let your opponent still have stuff on the board and they are Silence Combo Priest, they will kill you from 30. It will happen. So I would contend that Silence Priest in many ways is an aggro deck with a combo finisher, because you just kind of build a wide board, trade, push face damage when they can't deal with it, and then kill them out of nowhere. I would say that is aggressive. And ultimately, Priest is not meant to have the kind of minion pressure that we think of, where you're able to burn people out and attack quickly and generate damage from hand. But the current crop of Priest decks that we have that revolve around those fast Divine whatever it's called, Divine Spirit, Inner Fire, feels pretty aggressive a lot of the time, especially if you're playing the build that coins out Ancient Watcher into some good 2-drop into Humongous Razor Leaf. Those are very aggressive decks, because you're spending multiple cards to generate tempo and individually significant threats.
Yeah, I would have to say that, just if I'm writing it down on paper and I didn't know the names of cards or how they worked, if somebody said, this is a 2-mana 4/5, I'd say that's pretty aggressive.
Yeah, so my, like, contention with that, like, I agree with you, but I mean, like, a potential counterpoint to that is that, like, I've actually played a lot with Silence Priest in Standard and in Wild. Those are, like, my 250 Priest wins, is, like, Silence Priest almost exclusively. Is a lot of the times, like, yeah, those draws, you do feel like an overpowered aggro deck. You're just like, all right, these are just gigantic minions. These are huge. I'm hitting my opponent for a lot. But more often than not, you'll just kind of have weird, awkward hands where it's like Radiant Elemental, and then like Ancient Watcher, and then like just Potion of Madness. And you like have to kind of work to make the deck function, and that it feels like way more of a combo deck in that respect. But I do agree, like when you have like the good draws, it feels like a really disgusting aggro deck with like a crazy burst finish.
Well, and the other thing that kind of gets a Hat's earlier point too, where it's kind of dissimilar from Zoo, is So for Zoo, I could, creature, make as wide of a board as possible, and then it's a matter of diversifying your threats and your opponent going, what do I get rid of, or how do I get rid of this? Whereas if you're playing something like Silence Priest and you throw down an Ancient Watcher, your opponent kind of knows what's coming, and they're in a better position to kind of predict where the hits are going to come from in a way, I would think. And so they might take the extra time to kind of kill it. And so while it does have aggressive tendencies, it can almost kind of be a little more fragile when it tries to go aggressive like that in that way.
Yeah, like you get hit with a single devolve and it's bad times.
Yeah, well, devolve devolve and hex are both really powerful against that deck, though part of the joy of it, which is why I think Priest is so good against Mage, for example, is that if you play the Ancient Watcher and don't silence it, does your opponent kill it? Because they can, and then you still have the silence, if you had the silence to begin with, or you can just play it as a decoy. You're able to kind of develop this wide threat base and hold the cards that turn them into damage. And in that case, it's definitely, it's not as straightforward as Zoo. It's not as consistent by any stretch of the imagination, because there's no life tap, and life tap is OP. But it functions in a similar axis in that you kind of play... You go as wide as you can, or at least you develop a diversity of threats. I think that's something that the deck definitely has, and there are a lot of variants. The variant that I've been playing lately is Underscores, which is more of a combo Miracle Priest, where you cut the Ancient Watchers, the Purifies, the Silences, and the Humongous Razor Leafs. Instead, you go for more of a Miracle package with Cabal Talon Priest and Curious Glimmerroots, but your curve still tops out around 6, and you're not really interested in the control part like the Asmodai deck, where you have Freed from Amber, etc., but you're more just... how long can I wait until you die? And in that case, it feels very Zoo-ish, but, it's definitely not as consistent as Flame Imp into Dark Peddler into Imp Gang Boss. May they rest in peace.
See, now you're speaking my language.
Yeah. I miss those cards.
For the class in general, just to step away from Silence Priest for a second, like the core of the class is the hero power, right? Yeah. Heal 2 damage. And you can say, yeah, you're 100% about it being a board control tool and being able to facilitate trades, but just on a conceptual level, it is an ability that by function it increases your opponent's clock. So if they're trying to get you down 30 damage, each use of the hero power very slightly incrementally increases that clock distance. So 32 damage, 34 damage, 36 damage. And then all of the additional healing cards like Priest of the Feast and Greater Healing Potion, all of those things, they essentially work to deny your opponent their win condition. And then, of course, the deck has other answers. And I think, to me, that's why the class generally tends to not build towards aggro decks, because it goes against the basic functionality of how healing works.
Yes.
I typed it in the chat, but just give Priest weapons. That'll solve the problem.
They already got
there
one.
You go.
Yeah, have you played with Modern Control Priest?
Oh, with Atiesh?
Yeah. Have you played with Atiesh and Free from Ember? That's gross.
Yeah.
It's so rude. Like Deathwing plus an 8-mana thing. Pick them up. It's so nuts.
That's pretty gross.
Yeah, I do really like that deck.
And I think Abichu actually had weapons in his Grand Theft Anduin deck. They were the ones that his opponent was playing.
Exactly.
Oh,
yeah. I think I want to say we actually did hit an Arcanite Reaper at some point. It was just like, do we use this? I think so. Let's do it.
Hit him in the face with an axe. Sounds good. Sounds very priesty.
Yeah. Do we have any other commentary on the priests?
Not really. I mostly just wanted to address the question itself and then kind of piggyback off of it. It's like, why don't we have an aggro deck? So, like, here's the reasons. And then also, if we did have an aggro deck, Priest's Hero Power would be just disgusting.
Yeah. Sweet. All right. We have a little bit of time, so let's hit a couple of listener questions.
We're going to rock the foundations of the world, baby!
All right, I'm going to do this a little game show style. I'm going to read off the question, and then I'm going to call somebody at random to answer said question. First one comes from Mickey B1234. Can EU players enter the tournament? If so, will it be the same Battlefy sender? The answer is yes. Just email me and tell me what region you are in if it's not North America, and I will make a pool for you. Next one comes from Silence, who just gave us our DECKSPLANATIONS segment. When is the next show about user-created cards going to be, Chris?
Next week. Tune in.
No, wrong answer. I'm
Debated.
summoning the spirit of John McLaughlin. Wrong.
You should have said you're closest without going over.
Yeah,
Oh,
that's true. $1.
fair enough. Blake Hall says, why has the community never adopted the name Sweeper of Uldaman for Sunkeeper Tarim? Appa.
I knew you were going to go for me for this one. Because they don't like sweet value on their puns.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. Blizzard has some
Sweeper of Uldaman is like the most gas pun I have heard in a while. This is nuts. I love this.
It's really good.
I mean, this is the same company that gave us Edwin Van Leaf.
Van Leaf.
Yeah, that's true.
Abichu says, is Flametongue Totem an auto-include for Shaman, specifically the Storm, Earth, and Fire recipe deck hat?
So, I don't know what that recipe is, but if you're playing a Shaman deck without Flametongue, you'd have to have a really, really good reason. But if your reason is, I have no minions that cost less than 5 and I just clear the board for 5 turns, that is a good enough reason.
Yeah, so general rule of thumb, if you're playing Control, don't play Flametongue. If you're playing any other Shaman deck, put 2 of them in there. The card's crazy.
Yes, accurate. Yeah.
I agree.
If you're hitting the button and then not popping a Volcano, then you should have Flametongue.
Steven Sensei asks, if you're an average player trying to reach rank 5, how many games should you shoot for per day, Chris?
10 a day, and don't worry about getting rank 5. Worry about improving your play, and your ranking will improve the more consistent and the more you play.
Testify.
Great answer. If you have questions for us, you can write them to us at coinconcede@gmail.com or go to the Discord, discord.coinconcede.com, and go into the questions for the casts chat and just ask your question. We will harvest them like the Grand Reapers we are and put them in the show notes.
Also, if you want your question harvest, make sure you tag it with bracket question, closed bracket.
There you go.
Yes, and we have a couple super awesome questions from Steven Sensei and Abichu. We also had a super awesome host in Chris, and we want to make sure we're respectful of his time and our time, so we're going to save those for next week. But don't worry, we got them, and we're going to answer them.
That's right. So let's get the heck out of here, guys. Let's talk it out. Thanks to Stefan for letting us use his cover, the song you hear at the beginning and in the end of every show. Check him out on his channel, linked in the show notes. His YouTube channel is very cool, and he's got lots of cool music. Catch our blog posts at coinconcede.com along with the show notes. Follow us on Twitter at CoinConcede. Like and share the Facebook page, facebook.com/CoinConcede. Discord.coinconcede.com for lit chat and shop.coinconcede.com for lit shirts. And I am finalizing the Kazakhstan shirt. It is taking more of just a Cabal theme, but it is getting there. And as always, a humongous Razor Leaf thanks to Viriatis, our senior producer. Thank you so much for your support and your contributions to the show. Let's do shout-outs. Chris, you are our guest. You got any shout-outs for us?
I sure do. First of all, shout-outs to you guys for having me on. This was a blast. I really appreciate it. And, of course, shout-outs to Spivey, Matt, Ziggy, Sarah, all the 1600 Dust crew and listeners, and the listeners of this show as well for making me feel welcome here. So thank you.
Thank you. And I was about to say Cora because she's in the chat room. So hi, Cora.
Cora, hey.
Cora, text me your shout-outs and I'll put them on the show. Hat, what's your shout-out?
My shout-outs are the 2 people on Blizzard on Hearthstone that added me this week and said, "Our hat from Coin Concede? Wow, man, love the show." One of them bashed my face in, so I appreciate that he was a good dude. And then someone else just, I was sitting down at the computer editing OBS for the show, and someone just added me. Is like, I hope this is the R hat from Coin Concede, because otherwise I'm going to feel silly. But hey, really like the show. Tell everyone I said hi. So I kept my promise. I did. So yeah, thanks everyone on Hearthstone for adding me and not being jerks. I really appreciate that, and I will continue to add as many of you as I can.
Excellent. Appa, your shout out.
My shout out goes out to Blister Guy for utterly smashing my face in with Quest Rogue. Because like I said, I'm playing Priest. I've been playing a little bit of Control Priest, not Silence Priest. And he smashed my face in before the show. So yeah. Also, can I just note, like, how nuts it is whenever you have like someone add you and you're just like, all right, I'm preparing my body to deal with the assault that's about to come my way, and then they're like, hey, are you from Coin Concede? That's awesome, man. I love the show. Like, that just blows my mind. That's so cool to me.
And we have all
Maybe
this,
I
like, we have this leftover adrenaline. Like, I'm ready to be yelled at. And it's like, oh, they were really nice. What do I do now?
You got your finger over the print screen button, just waiting for something tasty to put on Twitter, and they're just telling you that they like your podcast. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, my anxiety cannot handle random ads from the ladder. I wish I had your courage. Kenny, I know what Kenny's going to shout out us for holding down the show. So, now you can't do it, Kenny. Go enjoy your stupid vacation. All right. And my shout out this week is to our listener, Mats, in the Discord. She got her very first 12-win arena run I think it was yesterday. 12-1. Wow. Turns out Sunkeeper Tarim is really, really good in arena. Just a little bit.
Who?
So, Mats.
No, I think you meant Sweeper Voldemort.
Sweeper Voldemort, yeah.
Yes, we talked about this recently.
Oh, you guys are so right, and I am so wrong. Okay, Chris, if people want to find you and maybe listen to your much shorter podcast, where can they find you?
1600dust.com. It's on Twitter at 1600dust, and I'm on Twitter as well at cmplummer, Plummer. Underscore.
Cora, who did not give me a shout out, but her contacts are Twitter at songbird underscore HS, and her Twitch is not. Oh yeah, there it is. Twitch.tv/songbirdcora. And she's not going to be twitching anytime soon because she's still casting she is working like crazy, and it's amazing. So go watch the Spring Championships, and you may or may not see her there. Hat, where can people find you?
You can find me pretty actively on Twitter at twitter.com/ridiculoushat. You can find me on pretty much any Hearthstone Discord. Speak my names 3 times, and I will probably appear. Actually, you can just say it once, and I'll probably be there. And you can also find me streaming Monday and Thursday nights, twitch.tv/ridiculoushat. And yeah, come hang out. We've been playing a lot of Burn Mage lately because I really want to get Legend, and it's the only deck that I feel like I have confidence with right now. So going to be probably playing that again for the next week, but hopefully by next week before the 1st, I'll hit Legend. We can play something goofy.
It's a pretty good deck to try and hit Legend with.
Yes.
Pretty good.
And double Volcanic Devotion is the truth right now.
I refer to that as answers.deck. That's what it is.
Well, it seems like an answer deck until about turn 6 when just like, well, your life total is lower than the total amount of burn I have in my hand, so fireball you.
Yeah, I played a game earlier where for the first 7 turns, they just killed my stuff and didn't let me have any fun, and then they were like Medivh, and I was like, all right, I'm done with this.
Yeah.
Appa, since you're on the mic, where can people find you?
You can find me on Twitter at CycloneAppa. And also a little bit of personal news, but I'm going to be moving back to New Orleans in like 2.5 weeks.
You mean Thunderblood?
Sure. So after that, I'm going to be streaming every day. Daily streams.
Dog, you're going to have to come up here and record with me at my house.
Yep.
Up in the sticks.
But yeah, so for right now, I'm taking a little bit of a break. I'm trying to get life stuff taken care of, but in a couple weeks, it's going to be daily streams.
Excellent. I do not do daily streams because I have to pay a house note. But I do stream on Saturdays and Sundays. If you want to catch me, it's twitch.tv/CinderAscendant, and my Twitter is the same, at CinderAscendant. Apologies for no stream last weekend. I went to the Tavern Hero qualifier, and I was super tired, and my back hurt a whole bunch. But it's getting better. And Kenny, who is not here to defend himself, is Twitter at KCCO_gamer and twitch.tv/KCCO_gamer. For Kenny, Hat, Appa, and Chris, and Cora, Ishne Alo Para. And if you see us on ladder, Coin Concede.
Coin Concede.
Coin Concede.
Go for it, Chris.
Coin Concede.
tested.
I choose death.
You win this one.
I concede.
You win this time. Well fought. I concede. You win this one, friend. The victory is yours.
I give up.